Can you imagine surviving a brutal winter without touching a thermostat? Before the luxury of central heating became standard in the mid-20th century, staying warm required creativity, preparation, and constant effort. Today we're exploring 25 ingenious methods our ancestors used to battle the cold, from clever architectural tricks to portable heating solutions that might surprise you. Let's start with open-hearth fireplaces in main rooms. The massive stone or brick fireplace was the beating heart of early American homes, often large enough to walk into and measuring 6 to 8 feet wide. These weren't the decorative fireplaces we know today. They were working giants that burned constantly from October through April, consuming up to 40 cords of wood per winter. Families would arrange their entire daily life around the fireplace, with chairs pulled close in a semicircle and children given the coveted spots nearest the flames. The hearth served triple duty as heater, stove, and social center, with iron cranes swinging pots over the flames for cooking, while family members took turns rotating like rotisserie chickens to warm both sides. By the 1700s, wealthy families might have multiple fireplaces, but most made do with one enormous hearth that could burn logs 4 feet long. The constant tending required someone to wake every few hours through the night, to add wood, making keeping the home fires burning a literal survival necessity. Cast iron wood stoves. Benjamin Franklin revolutionized home heating in 1741 with his Pennsylvania fireplace, later called the Franklin stove, which used 75% less wood than traditional fireplaces while producing twice the heat. These cast iron marvels stood away from walls with pipes that snaked through rooms before reaching the chimney, extracting every bit of warmth from the smoke. By the 1850s, ornate box stoves and cooking ranges had become status symbols, with names like Home Comfort and Queen Atlantic embossed on their decorated surfaces. A good cast iron stove cost between $15 and $40 in 1870, roughly $400 to $1,000 today, representing a major household investment. Families would gather around these stoves for evening activities, with special trivets on top for keeping teapots warm and flat surfaces perfect for drying mittens. The stoves required constant feeding but burned more efficiently than fireplaces, with dampers and drafts that could be adjusted to make a load of wood last through the night. Many families kept their stoves burning continuously from the first frost until late spring, only letting them go cold for weekly cleaning of the inevitable creosote buildup. Anthracite coal stoves and ornate parlor stoves. The discovery of Pennsylvania anthracite coal in the 1820s transformed winter heating, offering a fuel that burned hotter and longer than wood with less smoke. These specialized coal stoves, often called base burners or parlor heaters, featured intricate nickel plating, mica windows to view the flames, and automatic coal feeds that could run for 24 hours unattended. By 1885, a fancy parlor stove from Sears Roebuck might cost $35, a month's wages for many workers, but became the ultimate Victorian status symbol with names like Crown Jewel and Radiant Home. The hard coal produced steady heat at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, compared to wood's 100 degrees, making 1 ton of coal equal to nearly 2 cords of wood. Wealthy homes might have elaborate octagonal stoves standing 6 feet tall with warming ovens on top and decorative urns, while working families made do with simpler pot-belly stoves. The ritual of banking the coal stove at night, adjusting dampers and adding fresh coal to maintain a slow burn until morning, became an art form passed from parent to child. Masonry, tile, Kachelofen, heaters in German-American homes. German and Austrian immigrants brought the tradition of massive tile stoves called Kachelofen, which operated on a completely different principle than American stoves. These room-sized masonry heaters, often beautifully decorated with glazed tiles, featured serpentine smoke channels that could stretch 30 feet through the masonry mass. A hot fire burned for just 2 to 3 hours in the morning, but the thermal mass would radiate gentle heat for 12 to 24 hours. Built by specialized craftsmen called Hafners, a proper Couchalofen cost as much as a small house, but could heat multiple rooms through strategically placed walls. In Pennsylvania Dutch country, these stoves became family heirlooms, with some still functioning after 200 years of use. The tiles weren't just decorative. Their glazed surfaces prevented dust from burning and creating odors while radiating infrared heat that warmed objects rather than air. Families would build benches into the tilework, creating the warmest seats in the house where grandparents spent winter days, and cats claimed permanent residence. Bed warmers. Long-handled copper or brass bed warming pans were essential household tools from the 1600s through the early 1900s, filled with hot coals from the fireplace and run between cold sheets before bedtime. These ornate pans, often decorated with punched designs of hearts or eagles, had perforated lids to release heat while preventing sparks from escaping. A good warming pan cost about $2 in 1850, equivalent to $70 today, and was often passed down through generations as a wedding gift. The ritual involved a servant or child running the pan repeatedly between the sheets in a systematic pattern, paying special attention to the foot area where cold collected. By the late 1800s, some innovative warmers used hot water instead of coals, eliminating the fire risk but requiring more frequent refilling. Wealthy households might own several warmers to prepare multiple beds simultaneously, while boarding houses advertised pre-warmed beds as a luxury amenity. The Welsh even had a saying, "A cold bed makes a warm grave," emphasizing the serious health risks of sleeping in damp, frigid sheets. Heated soapstones or bricks, wrapped in cloth. Soapstone, quarried primarily in Vermont and Virginia, became the democratic alternative to expensive brass bed warmers because it retained heat for hours after warming on the stove. These flat stones, about the size of a large book and weighing 3 to 5 pounds, would be heated on the stove all day, then wrapped in old flannel shirts or special cloth covers for bedtime use. Brick served the same purpose for those who couldn't afford soapstone, though they didn't hold heat quite as long and could crack from repeated heating. Families typically owned one stone per person, with children fighting over whose stone got the prime stovetop spot during dinner. The stone stayed warm for 4 to 6 hours, just long enough for body heat to warm the bed naturally. Travelers would heat stones before departure, keeping them under lap robes in sleighs and carriages for journeys that could last all day in sub-zero weather. Some ingenious families created primitive radiators by lining windowsills with hot bricks, creating a barrier of warm air against the cold glass. Foot stoves for church and carriages. These portable wooden boxes with perforated tin or brass tops held small charcoal pans and were essential for surviving unheated churches and long carriage rides from the 1700s through the early 1900s. Measuring about 9 inches square and 6 inches high, foot stoves could burn for 2 to 3 hours on a single coal charge. Churches often had special foot stove storage rooms where parishioners would deposit their stoves before service, creating a fascinating pre-service ritual of coal preparation and stove lighting. Fancier models featured turned wooden frames with decorative pierced tin patterns, while utilitarian versions were simple pine boxes with basic ventilation holes. Women's foot stoves sometimes included drawers for storing hand warmers or smelling salts, acknowledging the combined challenges of cold and corset-restricted breathing. Stagecoaches provided foot stoves as a premium amenity, charging an extra 25 cents per trip for their use. The charcoal had to be properly started outdoors to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning, a lesson learned through tragic experience in closed carriages. Buffalo robes and fur-lap blankets for travel. Before automobiles with heaters, staying warm during winter travel meant bundling in buffalo robes that could cost $15 to $50 in the 1880s, the price of a good horse. These massive hides, weighing up to 20 pounds, came from the millions of buffalo slaughtered on the Great Plains, with peak production reaching 200,000 robes annually in the 1870s. The finest robes featured the thick winter coat of bulls, tanned with the hair on and lined with colorful felt or flannel. Sleigh riders layered multiple robes, tucking them around legs and torsos while leaving only faces exposed to the elements. After buffalo became scarce in the 1890s, black bear, wolf, and even domestic cowhides served as substitutes, though none matched buffalo's combination of warmth and durability. Railroads advertised buffalo robe service on premium cars, where porters would tuck passengers into robes for overnight journeys through the Rockies. The robes did double duty in homes as floor coverings and extra bedding during particularly harsh cold snaps. Layered wool clothing. The art of layering reached its peak in the 19th century, when people wore up to 7 layers indoors during winter, starting with woolen union suits that covered from ankle to wrist. Men's winter underwear, called long johns after boxer John L. Sullivan, came in weights from light merino to heavy double-thick wool that could stand up on its own. Women added wool petticoats, sometimes 3 or 4 at once, plus quilted underskirts, wool stockings, flannel chemises, and wool dresses. The scratchy discomfort was legendary. Many people developed permanent rashes from coarse wool against skin, leading to a thriving market in medicated underwear, treated with various oils and ointments. A complete set of winter woolens cost about $5 in 1875, nearly a week's wages for a laborer, making them carefully maintained and patched for years. The layers trapped air between them, creating insulation so effective that people often broke into sweats when doing housework, leading to dangerous chills when they stepped outside. Nightcaps, mittens, and thick wool socks indoors. The idea of wearing hats to bed seems quaint now, but nightcaps were essential when bedroom temperatures regularly dropped below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Men wore long pointed caps called biggins, while women favored ruffled mob caps that covered ears and tied under the chin. Some households required wearing mittens indoors, especially when doing sedentary work like sewing or reading, with special fingerless versions allowing for detailed tasks. Wool socks were worn in layers, thin silk or cotton against the skin to prevent blisters, then 1 or 2 pairs of heavy wool over those. Children often slept fully dressed in winter, adding only a nightcap to their daily wear. The constant wearing of wool led to a distinctive winter smell in homes, a mixture of lanolin, wood smoke, and damp wool that many remembered as the scent of winter itself. Knitting circles spent entire summers producing enough caps, mittens, and socks for a family to survive winter, with girls learning to knit by age 5. Heavy quilts and woven coverlets. The phrase piecing quilts understates the critical importance of these bed covers that could weigh 15 to 20 pounds and provide the primary nighttime warmth for entire families. Women saved every scrap of fabric throughout the year, sorting them by weight and warmth for strategic placement in quilts, woolens for winter, quilts, cottons for summer. A proper winter bed might have 6 to 8 quilts layered by weight, with the heaviest on top to compress the warm air trapped beneath. Quilting bees weren't just social events, but survival collaborations where women worked together to produce enough bedding before winter. The most prized quilts featured wool batting from home-raised sheep, carded and layered inches thick between the fabric layers. Woven coverlets, produced on large looms, incorporated wool and cotton in complex patterns that trapped air while remaining lighter than quilts. These textiles represented enormous investments of time and materials. A single quilt might contain 100 hours of labor and fabric worth $10 in an era when cash was scarce. Feather beds and down comforters. Feather beds, massive cloth sacks filled with 40 to 50 pounds of goose or duck feathers, served as both mattress toppers and insulation, creating a warm cocoon that molded around sleeping bodies. Preparing feathers required months of plucking, cleaning, and drying, with the average farm goose yielding only about a pound of usable feathers per year. The annual feather stripping was a communal activity where neighbors gathered to pluck stored feathers while gossiping and singing. True down comforters, filled with the soft undercoating of waterfowl, were luxury items imported from Europe and costing as much as $50 in the 1880s. These lightweight but incredibly warm covers became family treasures, carefully protected in cedar chests and passed down through generations. The feather bed required daily shaking and fluffing to maintain loft, a chore that sent clouds of dust through bedrooms and contributed to respiratory problems. During extremely cold weather, entire families would share one feather bed, sleeping crosswise to fit more bodies under its warmth. Canopy beds with curtains. Four-poster beds with heavy curtains weren't just for privacy. They created essential microclimates that could be 20 degrees warmer than the surrounding room. The curtains, made from thick wool, velvet, or multiple layers of linen, would be drawn tightly around the bed at night, trapping body heat and breath moisture. Some elaborate bed hangings included valances, side curtains, and foot curtains that turned the bed into an almost airtight chamber. By morning, the inside of these bed curtains would be damp with condensation from exhaled breath, requiring daily airing to prevent mildew. Wealthy households had summer and winter bed hangings, changing them seasonally like modern people change comforters. The warmth came at a price. The enclosed space could become suffocating, and many people reported claustrophobic nightmares from sleeping in heavily curtained beds. Parents would crack the curtains periodically to check on children, letting in rushes of cold air that caused protests and demands to close the bed. Shutters and heavy drapes. Interior wooden shutters weren't decorative. They provided crucial insulation when closed against windows at night, reducing heat loss by up to 50% compared to glass alone. These shutters, often 2 inches thick and carefully fitted to window frames, would be religiously closed at dusk and opened at dawn to capture any warming sunlight. Heavy drapes, sometimes weighing 20 pounds per window, hung from floor to ceiling and extended well beyond window frames to eliminate drafts. The fabrics of choice were velvet, thick wool, or specially woven tapestry materials that could cost more than the windows themselves. Wealthy Victorians layered window treatments, shutters, then heavy drapes, then decorative curtains, creating 3 barriers against cold. The daily ritual of managing windows, opening south-facing curtains on sunny days, closing everything at the first hint of dusk, occupied significant household time. Some families stuffed newspapers between shutters and windows for extra insulation, discovering the principle of dead airspace decades before modern double-pane windows. Draft stoppers and door curtains. Portiere, the heavy curtains hung in doorways, served as elegant solutions to the constant draft problem in pre-central heating homes. These doorway curtains, often made from tapestry or thick velvet with weighted bottoms, could reduce drafts by 75% while still allowing passage between rooms. Draft stoppers, fabric tubes filled with sand, sawdust, or rags, lined every door and window sill, requiring constant adjustment as they were kicked aside during daily activities. Creative homemakers fashioned decorative draft stoppers shaped like snakes, dogs, or logs, turning necessity into folk art. The door snake became such an essential item that pattern books included dozens of designs, from simple tubes to elaborate creations with button eyes and embroidered scales. Specialized draft detectors made from feathers or thin paper helped identify air leaks that would be stuffed with cotton, newspaper, or even mud. The constant battle against drafts meant that homes were often darker than necessary, as every potential opening was sealed against cold air infiltration. Braided and rag rugs over bare floors. Before wall-to-wall carpeting, bare wooden floors radiated cold throughout winter, making thick rag rugs essential for warmth rather than decoration. Women spent entire winters braiding torn fabric strips into oval or circular rugs that could measure 10 feet across and weigh 30 pounds when complete. These rugs were strategically placed beside beds for warm morning footsteps, in front of chairs where people sat, and along kitchenwork areas where cooks stood for hours. The thickest rugs, sometimes 3 inches deep, were made from worn wool clothing that was too damaged to patch but too valuable to discard. Layers of rugs would overlap in the coldest rooms, creating an insulated floor covering that could be rolled up in summer for cleaning and storage. The production of a room-sized braided rug required about 50 pounds of fabric scraps and 200 hours of labor, making them valuable household assets listed in estate inventories alongside furniture. Chinking and daubing log walls. The spaces between logs in cabin walls, called chinks, required constant maintenance with a mixture of clay, moss, animal hair, and sometimes even livestock manure that hardened into an airtight seal. This daubing process happened every fall, with families mixing huge batches of mud and organic materials that would be pressed into every crack and crevice. Moss gathered from forests and dried through summer provided flexible insulation that could expand and contract with temperature changes without cracking. Some regions favored a mixture called cat and clay, twisted straw or grass, the cat, covered with multiple layers of clay that created a primitive stucco. The annual daubing was backbreaking work that required scaffolding to reach high walls and often took weeks to complete. Newspapers became valuable insulation when they became widely available, with layers of papers mixed with flour paste, creating an effective barrier against drafts. Interior walls might receive a coating of plaster made from lime, sand, and horsehair, providing both insulation and a surface that could be whitewashed for cleanliness. Banking foundations. The practice of banking involved piling organic materials, straw, leaves, sawdust, or even manure, against foundation walls from ground level to above the first floor windows. This temporary winter insulation could reduce heat loss through foundations by 40%, though it required careful spring removal to prevent rot and insect infestation. Some families built permanent wooden frameworks around foundations, filling them with fresh materials each fall and emptying them each spring. In extreme northern climates, snow itself became insulation, with homeowners actually shoveling snow against their houses rather than away from them. The banking materials had to be kept dry to prevent ice formation that could crack foundations, requiring covered frameworks or regular replacement of wet materials. Wealthy homeowners might use purchased straw bales, while rural families used corn stalks, pine needles, or whatever organic matter was freely available. The spring removal of banking materials was a sure sign of winter's end, often celebrated with the discovery of early spring flowers that had been protected in the warm microclimate. Closing off unused rooms. The concept of heating an entire house was impossible for most families, who instead closed off all but essential rooms, sometimes for months at a time. Bedrooms were often abandoned entirely during the coldest months, with entire families sleeping in the kitchen or main room near the heat source. Doors to closed rooms would be sealed with strips of cloth or paper, and some families even boarded over doorways for the winter season. Water would be drained from wash basins and pitchers in closed rooms to prevent freezing and cracking of ceramic vessels. These abandoned spaces became impromptu refrigerators for food storage, though items had to be carefully monitored to prevent actual freezing. The spring opening of the house was a major event, requiring days of cleaning, airing, and warming before rooms could be reoccupied. Some homes featured removable walls or large sliding doors that could section off wings of the house, creating smaller, more manageable living spaces for winter months. Keeping to the kitchen. The kitchen became the heart of winter life, with families conducting all daily activities in this one warm room, heated by the constantly burning cook stove. Tables served multiple purposes throughout the day: breakfast preparation, children's schoolwork, mother's sewing, father's ledgers, and evening entertainment all happened in the same spot. Some families literally lived in their kitchens from November to March, setting up temporary beds for children and elderly relatives who couldn't tolerate cold bedrooms. The kitchen stove burned continuously, with the fire carefully banked at night to maintain enough heat for morning revival without consuming excessive fuel. Cast iron cook stoves provided steady heat while also warming water in reservoirs, drying clothes on overhead racks, and keeping food warm in warming ovens. The constant presence of people in one room led to creative privacy solutions like curtained alcoves and scheduled quiet times when some family members would bundle up to visit other rooms. Kitchen gardens on windowsills provided both fresh herbs and additional insulation, with boxes of growing plants creating green barriers against cold glass. Hot drinks and warming foods. The consumption of hot beverages increased dramatically in winter, with families drinking up to a gallon of hot cider, coffee, or tea daily as internal warming strategies. Hot cider, made from preserved apple cider heated with cinnamon sticks and cloves, provided calories and warmth while being cheaper than imported tea or coffee. Hearty stews and soups simmered constantly on stoves, providing both nutrition and internal heat that could sustain outdoor workers for hours. The tradition of noonings, stopping work for hot midday meals, was essential for maintaining body temperature during outdoor winter labor. Porridge and other hot cereals weren't just breakfast foods, but were consumed throughout the day for their warming properties and slow-burning calories. Some households kept kettles of hot water constantly ready for mixing with molasses or honey to create instant warming drinks. The caloric requirements for maintaining body heat meant winter diets contained significantly more fats and starches than summer eating, with butter consumption often doubling during cold months. Staying active with chores. The necessity of constant movement for warmth shaped daily routines, with households scheduling vigorous activities during the coldest parts of the day. Wood chopping, water hauling, and barn chores weren't just necessities, but deliberate warming exercises that raised body temperature for hours. Women would schedule heavy housework like washing, bread kneading, and floor scrubbing for the coldest mornings, using physical labor as a heating strategy. Children were given active indoor tasks like churning butter, grinding grain in hand mills, or operating spinning wheels to keep them warm while contributing to household needs. Even sedentary activities were modified for warmth. Standing desks were common because sitting still led to dangerous chilling. Dancing and indoor games weren't just entertainment, but survival activities, with families holding impromptu dance sessions when temperatures dropped dangerously low. The elderly, unable to maintain warmth through activity, were given the warmest spots in homes and often wore multiple layers even while sleeping. Connected barns and L additions. New England's connected farm architecture, where houses, sheds, and barns formed continuous structures, wasn't just convenient, but created a warming system using animal body heat. A typical connected farmstead might house 20 cows, several horses, and dozens of chickens, generating thousands of BTUs of heat that warmed adjacent human living spaces. The connecting structures, called L's, served as buffer zones that prevented cold winds from hitting the main house directly, while allowing protected passage to barns for twice daily milking and feeding. Some farmers calculated that their livestock provided the equivalent of an extra cord of wood per month in heating value through body heat alone. The smell was a constant issue, with animal odors permeating human living spaces, though most farm families became nose-blind to what visitors found overwhelming. These connected structures required careful ventilation to prevent dangerous ammonia buildup, while maintaining enough airflow to dry hay stored in lofts above. The tradition of keeping livestock close extended to bringing chickens into cellars, and occasionally even bringing calves or piglets into kitchens during extreme cold snaps. Sun management. The daily choreography of following sunlight through houses became second nature, with furniture rearranged seasonally to capture maximum solar heat. South-facing windows were kept meticulously clean and curtains drawn wide on sunny winter days, with inside temperatures rising 10–15 degrees from solar gain alone. Dark-colored items like cast-iron trivets or slate boards were placed in sunny windows to absorb heat during the day and radiate it back at night. Some innovative homeowners built primitive solar collectors using black-painted metal behind glass, discovering greenhouse principles through experimentation. The afternoon ritual of moving chairs to follow sunbeams became so ingrained that furniture often showed wear patterns from seasonal repositioning. North-facing windows might be boarded over entirely for winter, or covered with translucent, oiled paper that admitted light while blocking drafts. Smart builders oriented houses with mathematical precision, calculating sun angles to maximize winter heat gain while providing summer shade through properly sized roof overhangs. Portable hand warmers. Personal heating devices ranged from simple charcoal-filled metal containers to elaborate pocket stoves that burned special fuel pellets. The most common hand warmers were perforated metal balls or flat cases that held smoldering charcoal, carried in special pockets or muffs to prevent burns. By the 1890s, catalytic hand warmers using lighter fluid and platinum catalysts provided flameless heat for up to 12 hours. Some innovative designs included double-walled containers filled with hot water, primitive thermoses that stayed warm for hours when tucked inside clothing. Wealthy ladies carried ornate silver hand warmers as fashion accessories, while working men used utilitarian iron versions that doubled as pocket tools for melting ice or warming frozen locks. The Japanese pocket warmers, called Cairo, filled with hot sand or rice hulls, were adopted by American travelers who encountered them in West Coast ports. These portable heaters were essential for occupations requiring outdoor winter work. Police officers, mail carriers, and railroad workers often carried 2 or 3 warmers to rotate throughout their shifts. Thanks for joining us on this trip down memory lane. If you enjoyed exploring these 25 ingenious heating methods, give it a like and share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe.